What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have another album review for you. Again, this was kind of a busy week and a lot of different stuff coming out. And one that I definitely had on my radar, because I've been listening to this band pretty much since they came out, was the newest offering from Thulcandra, Hail the Abyss. This also comes out on the 19th of May on Napalm Records. This band formed in 2003 in Munich, Germany. This is their fifth album overall, and the first one they've actually put a gold logo on it, because all their logos are generally white. And well, I mean, all right, this band loves Dissection as much as they love putting out albums with blue covers. Like, they are very transparent about how much they love Dissection, and their ranks are bolstered by some really solid band members, current and former members of Secrets of the Moon, Nailed to Obscurity, and one very prominent member of Obscura, one Stefan Kummer, or Kummer, I don't know. I don't know. I struggled with that when I brought up their last album, A Dying Wish, and a collection update. But this is melodic, blackened death metal. Again, so fiercely in the vein of Dissection, but again, they're kind of transparent that that is one of their main influences. And again, I've been a fan for a while. I believe it was Under a Frozen Moon, I think was the first one I got. And I was like, holy shit, this sounds like Dissection. And I like Dissection, so that's generally not a problem. And they are back once again to, well, kind of do what they do. But again, I really have no issue with it because they sound like Dissection and I like Dissection. And I mean, if you want to sound like Dissection, you get Dan Swano to do the mix on it, which, yeah, I mean, he does incredible shit. But yeah, this is loaded with icy cold riffs, big mellow death sort of transitions in terms of the more death metal side. Like, I've called this band like Frosty Hypocrisy before because, I mean, when it gets down to the more mellow death side of them, it sounds a lot like Hypocrisy.
I, for one, have never heard this band. Even more strikingly shocking, which I'm sure will be a thing because it happens on YouTube, especially with our subscribers and our commenters. I've actually not really heard Dissection either, which I'm currently jamming in the background. So to make comparisons in this field aren't going to be the greatest for me. My exposure to black metal has not really been with the more staples in black metal. It's been some outsider, I guess, influences.
Newer ones.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of like blackened death metal, which I think is really cool. So, I mean, I have some comparisons to make, but having never really listened to Dissection, nor having heard Thulcandra, this should be interesting.
Yeah. But, I mean, honestly, it's pretty much just very melodic blackened death metal. You have giant riffs all over the place, occasionally getting kind of thrashy, like the title track and Blood of Slaves, which has a disgusting thrash break. But a lot of this is just about the icy cold atmosphere, lots of tremolo harmonies. They're cold and just absolutely fucking delicious. You know, they pretty much nail the sound. And, you know, Stefan, I know his work in Obscura. I know he's a solid guitarist and solid songwriter. And this is kind of like a cool project for him in terms of, like, getting away from, like, the tech death that Obscura is known for. Like, this is more riff-oriented. And the song structure is generally just vastly different in terms of how these songs move, you know, the atmosphere, the mood shifting, and he does it incredibly well in here.
It was kind of hard for me to latch onto because there's not a lot of traditional riffing. Like, when I think of traditional riffing, I think of chugs and you
Dissonance?
know, dissonance and all the, you know, shut up. All the things I've come to like about riffing. This is more tremolo riffing, which I'm also finding that I really enjoy, especially lower registered tremolos. Like, I hear in a lot of the bands I've listened to, and a lot of like the blackened bands and such, they have higher registered tremolos, which is fine, but like, I like that they're low and dark and sinister and dirty sounding.
There's a lot of like really good descending tremolos that get really low, but I like the harmonies where you actually get like tremolo harmonies, you get higher parts and lower parts in there. It gives it a very epic vibe, like especially on songs like As I Walk Through the Gateway. I mean, these song titles, you know, scream fucking epic black metal anyway. There's some like cool heavy metal gallops, but when you get down the tremolos, they ascend a little bit more. It's a little bit more triumphant. It feels like you're conquering something, but you're conquering something good. You're not conquering evil, because this sounds evil and sinister still, and that's kind of the vibe, but it's also very forlorn and kind of dark and dreary, especially in the last track, the final closure, which, I mean, with a title like that, it better be fucking dreary.
It was the end. Final. At least they got closure. That's good. But lots of triumphant sounding harmonized tremolos in there.
But the main thing I really love about this band, and I guess by default Dissection, is the injection of melody. Like, these songs can be absolutely brutal, fast, just cold and icy and vicious, but pockets of melody everywhere. The harmonies that are all over here, whether they be tremolo harmonies or just like very like kind of trad metal harmonies that pop up, they kind of walk a line between like classic heavy metal and folk metal. Like, it definitely reminds me a lot of like, you know, early In Flames. And I mean, you know, Dissection Worship is kind of the main gear, but there's definitely some nods to like Immortal, Satyricon. It's kind of like, you know, like a love letter to Norway, all the way from Germany. The Immortal nods, at least I feel, are kind of transparent on a song like Acheronian Cult. I think that's how you say that word.
I think it's Acheronian, but I have no idea.
Acheronian? I don't know. But cult isn't spelled with a K or a V, so I don't know. Should we knock them a little bit for that? They are German, so maybe get away with that. But that song is one of the most dynamic ones on here in terms of how it flows, the really big dynamic sweeps. I love the build up to it. It's isolated, you know, acoustic guitars with really creepy whispers, and then you get, you know, actual electric guitars on top of there with like some really creepy harmonies, and it builds in this kind of mid-tempo stomp, very reminiscent of, well, of course, Dissection, but also Immortals at Winter's Gate. But I like how the transitions keep going, and it goes from this mid-tempo like black metal stomp to a flat-out chuggy, awesome melodic death metal riff. Like, honestly, one of my favorite riffs on the entire album. It just comes in there and whoops your fucking ass.
I too thought that. I thought it definitely had some more death metal influence to it. But I digress. I actually really like it. There are death metal influences in that song, as well as Blood of the Slaves, which is just straight fucking ball puncher. Heavy and blasty and more of the dark tremolos, and actually some good fucking riffing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the riffs on here, again, like, they're kind of breaks in between tremolos. A lot of this is about generating that, you know, cold, dreary atmosphere. And Stefan's vocals do really well with that, too. There's just a little bit of reverb on them, and they sit back in the mix quite a bit, because this mix is very guitar-dominated, and it should be, because the guitars sound fucking great on here.
Yes, they do. And I even get dissonant riffing, because y'all know I like that shit.
And there's also some chug.
And some chug, and more of the things I like. But I mean, I'm getting there, you know?
Blood of Slaves is a really cool one, because not only does it have those death metal aspects, it also has the black metal, and there's a little bit of thrash metal. And it's really cool to hear, like, the mood shift. Like, you get these big triumphant parts, and then it is back down to the grimy evil. And the song flows beautifully. In fact, all the songs are really well constructed. The transitions are very smooth. There's always pockets of melody. And, I mean, with the help of Dan Swano's mix on here, like, the levels are fucking great on here. The drums sound exceptionally punchy on here. Everything sounds organic and layered and lush. On probably the most blackened side of here, Velvet Damnation, mid-tempo start into blast. It's cold, it's icy, and I like how it's both dark and sinister sounding, but again, like, sort of triumphant. And again, we're triumphing over good, not evil, because good is dumb.
Yeah, Velvet Damnation does really well to build tension with these riffs as it moves from blackened and blasty to folky and then back to blasty and tremolo. Like, the general riff progression just builds really well.
And the melodies really translate well both from acoustic to like electric guitars. In fact, the acoustic interludes, At Night and In Darkness We Descend, I can't bitch about them. I generally bitch about interludes all the fucking time.
Bitches.
But these are pretty. Like, they're just isolated acoustic pieces. Like, there's a little bit of
reverb,
you know, ambiance in the background too. But the playing is absolutely amazing. And yeah, I mean, Stefan's in Obscura. You have to be a good player to be in that band. I mean, it's kind of his band. Like, he's like kind of the main guy in there, I think. But honestly, again, everything on this album flows really well, and the acoustic stuff really contributes a lot. It's good mood setting, and they also have, like, you know, cool stuff that kind of pops up in the background during these little quiet acoustic moments. Blood of Slaves, there's like backwards whispers. On Acheronian Cult, or however you say that word, there are some like whispers peppered in, but they're going forwards like normal. There's backwards whispers on Blood of Slaves because that sounds creepier.
Makes it evil.
Yeah. And it's cool to hear like just these really cool swells. Like the last track, Final Closure, there are moments where they drop out the electric guitars in favor of an acoustic melody. It leads in acoustically, very dreary, like it's kind of the funeral dirge of the entire album, but they'll drop out the electric guitars, at least the rhythm ones, and just have a guitar harmony and the acoustic melody that opens it.
But then when they bring it back in on that song, they bring it back in with cello, and it makes it all the more dark and sinister.
And it's chuggy and heavy in spots, a little bit doomy at times. And there's even like a minimal amount of synths on here, and honestly, they don't jump out and ruin the song, because like sometimes synths in this particular style can kind of throw me off a bit, but they're used subtly, like just to add a little additional atmosphere. A lot of this feels very much like, you know, late 90s, early 2000s, you know, black metal / melodic death metal. Like, it's definitely a blend of those two, but they capture it so damn well. But in terms of any like negatives on here, I do have a couple. One, I think pretty much every song on here is really solid, like really well written. There are songs that I'm not as into though, namely On Wings of Cosmic Fire. That one is a little bit thrashier and more aggressive, like the riffs are a little bit chuggier and a little bit more like simplified. In fact, there's enough ooze in there that makes me think that it might be a little bit of a nod to Celtic Frost, and it's done pretty well. But in terms of like going up against the other songs on here, the other songs feel way more dynamic. And I like the opening track in The Eye of Heaven as like a big epic opening track because it's like, what, almost 7 minutes, I think? You know, it's nice, it's a good pace setter, but I think it kind of runs a little bit long and it kind of repeats a lot of stuff in there that's like, okay, I feel like you kind of did that already. And, well, the whole you kind of did that already thing is maybe a little bit of an issue with this, because I own all of Thulcandra's albums and they're all good. And honestly, while I do love them, this doesn't really bring anything new to the table. But again, this band is kind of transparent about what they do in terms of being like almost a dissection tribute. It's almost like, you know, the equivalent of Gruesome. They're essentially like the black metal equivalent of Gruesome in terms of their worship of death. They're very transparent about it. And yeah, I think Death has just like a little bit more of a progression in their catalog than Dissection, mainly because there aren't that many Dissection albums. A lot of the stuff, yeah, you could definitely find on another Thulcandra album, and you could definitely find on a Dissection album, but it's really well executed. Once again, like the riffs are solid, the melodies are great. This is, you know, worship and tribute done with like a serious love for the band. And I think they executed the sound, you know, superbly once again. So overall, I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. I dig the fuck out of it. It's just, you know, they've kind of made this album before, but I liked it. So, you know, I can't say it's their best one because they're all kind of really good. I got more of a thing for Under a Frozen Sun. Like, I think that's the one that really got me into them. But yeah, this is great melodic blackened death metal. It's hooks aplenty. The riff work's amazing. The production's fucking stellar. Dan Swano is, you know, he's a fucking legend. And this is another reason why you hire him, because you will get results like this. If you love stuff like Immortal, Hypocrisy, Dissection, you will fucking dig this. It's just fucking icy cold riffing and epic and evil and frosty and just all the cool things about black metal and death metal.
Before I give my rating, I'm going to preface it by saying that, once again, I am not well-versed in this particular style of black metal. Most of what I've listened to, again, I know I've said it before, have been newer bands, and I've heard a lot of death metal bands with blackened elements, and I think it's really cool. I'm going to give this a 3, mostly because the normal stuff that I would latch on to simply isn't here, and I'm learning more to love this kind of music. Like, don't get me wrong, dude, the riffing is pretty neat on here. I really like dark tremolo. Like, I really, really fucking love it. The drum work is really solid. That guy definitely knows what he's doing. The cymbal work in here is pretty awesome. And even though he blasts a lot, like, he always separates it by using little tiny fills or little tiny transitions or something to spice it up a little bit more. For the most part, I really dug all the songs, with the exclusion of the last one just a little bit because it had this grandiose buildup that never ended up going anywhere. Like, that's one little gripe I have. But other than that, I like the riffing in there and the cello. I like how dark and sinister everything sounds. Definitely some talented musicianship. I just don't think that I'm at the point yet where I can be like, this is fucking awesome and let me tell you why. Because I just don't have that background to go upon. So, I mean, I guess I can just say what I like. I like the riffing. I like the tremolos. I like the drum work. I like just how this record is presented. What I didn't like was it was minus some things that I normally latch onto, i.e. chugging. But I'm getting there. So it's a 3 for me. It doesn't matter what I think, but it's something that I'm learning. One of the beauties of Thralls of Metal for me has been as I get exposure to a lot of things that I just don't think I would have gotten exposure to had I gone on this journey by myself. Once again, formulate your own opinions and, let us know what you liked. Also, let us know in the comments how many times Nick said dissection in this review, because I think it's quite a bit.
About as many times as he said chug and dissonance.
Yeah, and right there, bud. Right there.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below at thrallsofmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there, as well as our store, which we will be loading up on different merch. We are actually really working on that right now. And we also have a giveaway going on.
Woo!
Once we hit 15,000 subscribers, which is less than 400 now.
Yeah.
We are going to do a giveaway. All you have to do is comment on the video link down below. It is also automatically playing on our channel. I have a stack of 10 CDs I want to give away to some rabid metalhead, and honestly, if I get a repeat by accident, I'm going to throw that one in too, because why the fuck not? You guys deserve it. You guys have put up with us for this long, and we are super fucking thankful. It's been an amazing journey, and we look forward to loading you guys with even more content.
Which we definitely have coming.
Oh, yeah. And, just general buffoonery, because I think that's kind of what we're known for, too. But, yeah, you guys absolutely rule. Thank you so much for supporting us on this little journey.
Thank you.
And we will catch you later.